from yesterday we did the graph, and yesterday at the very end of class we found the derivative of this parametric curve. So what I want to do is kind of take the derivative and then do things like find equations of some tangent lines, or find where the tangent line is horizontal, find where the tangent line is vertical. So let's go ahead and do that on the next page. So for this, here I'm going to write the equations again. X equals t squared and y equals t cubed minus 3t. And we found the derivative, dy over dx, is the same as the derivative of y with respect to t divided by the derivative of x with respect to t. If the derivative of x with respect to t is not 0, and so with that I can look and say the derivative of y with respect to t, that's 3t squared minus 3, and the derivative of x with respect to t is 2t. And I'm saying if the derivative dx over dt is not 0, but what happens when the derivative of x with respect to t is 0? Ah, wait, not that. You're thinking the flip. Vertical tangent line. So let's do that. So there is a vertical tangent line when the derivative dy over dx is undefined, or when the denominator is 0. When dx over dt equals 0. So that's going to be when 2t equals 0. So when 2t equals 0, the tangent line is vertical. So I just need to solve 2t equals 0. Well, what's that going to be? 2t is 0. T is 0. I'm looking for the chart we did yesterday of the ordered pairs, because that one, when t is 0, what did we get? 0, 0. Here, I don't need to find that chart. I can just pretend I don't have it, because I don't. And I can say, okay, when t is 0, then I'm going to have x equals 0 squared. So x is 0. And y equals 0 cubed minus 3 times 0. So that's 0. So I know that there's a vertical tangent line at the point 0, 0. There is a vertical tangent line at 0, 0. What's the equation of that vertical tangent line? How do you get the equation of a vertical line? Is it x equals or y equals? X equals. The equation is x equals 0 for the vertical tangent line. And have my graph right here. On the graph, that's going to be this line. Well, it's the y-axis. Okay, let's find where the tangent lines are horizontal on this graph. there are horizontal tangent lines when what? When the numerator is 0. When dy over dx equals 0, and that would be the numerator. So when 3t squared minus 3 is 0. And I'm looking at thinking I can solve for t. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. 3t squared is 3. Divide by 3, t squared is 1. So when t is what? Plus or minus 1. And from my equations, x equals t squared and y equals t cubed minus 3t. I can plug in t equals 1. So x is 1. And then y would be 1 minus 3. Y is negative 2. So there's a horizontal tangent line at 1, negative 2. And there's a horizontal tangent line when t is negative 1. Well, that's x equals 1. And what's y in that case? Positive 2. So at 1, 2, there's horizontal tangent lines. Here, I'm going to kind of box this off and say horizontal tangent lines. What's the equation of a horizontal line? Y equals. So this one's going to be y equals negative 2, and this one would be y equals 2. Yesterday, when I did the graph, I was kind of like, you know what? I don't know if this is the highest point when I did the plotting. But because there's a horizontal tangent line, I can think that is now. No, it said the highest point. Local max, right? And this would be local min. And I know the equation of those lines. Y equals 2, y equals negative 2. Okay, now I'm going to do another tangent line. I'm going to do the tangent line at the point 3, 0. In fact, it looks like there's going to be 2 tangent lines at that point. So, yesterday, we did find the x-intercepts To find the x-intercepts, I need to write these equations again. I don't want to forget them like I did yesterday. X equals t squared, y equals t cubed minus 3t. So to find the x-intercepts, I had to say, well, y is 0. All right, let y equal 0. So that was 0 is t cubed minus 3t. We solved it yesterday, and we had gotten t equals 0, and t equals the square root of 3, and t is negative square root of 3. So those were the three values. T equals 0, that's where the tangent line is vertical. We've already found that. So now I want to find the equation of the tangent lines when t is square root of 3 and when t is negative square root of 3. Find the equation. I guess I'll say plural because I'm looking for two of them. Find the equations of the tangent lines when t is the square root of 3 and when t is negative square root of 3. What are the x and y values? X is square root of 3 squared, which is 3, and y, would be the square root of 3 cubed minus 3 times, in fact, y should be what? 0, because that's how we set it up. So I feel kind of silly for writing that, but you can double check, then y should be 0. So there's my x and my y values, in fact, for both of these. And for this, I'm going to need the derivative. Dy over dx is dy over dt over dx over dt. So that, we've already found it, but it's easy enough to find it again. 3t squared minus 3 over 2t. To find the slope of the tangent line, I'll have to plug in, I have to do this twice. I have to plug in the square root of 3, and then I'll have to plug in negative square root of 3. So let's go with square root of 3 first. If t is the square root of 3, that's going to be, I'm going to write slope. 3 times the square root of 3 squared minus 3 over 2 times the square root of 3. So that first part, okay, I can square, and that's going to be 3. That's 9 minus 3, right? The numerator is 6. The denominator, 2 times the square root of 3. This will reduce to 3 over the square root of 3. I'm not really a fan of rationalizing, but I think we should this time. Because it's going to be, if I rationalize, it's 3 times the square root of 3 over the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. It's just the square root of 3. So there's my slope. So one of the tangent lines, this is for t is the square root of 3. Remember, y minus y1 is m times x minus x1. Remember that guy, your best friend from probably last semester? Y minus 0 is the square root of 3 times x minus 3. And you don't need to write y minus 0. I wrote it because I want you to see where I'm getting the numbers. That's the point that this graph is passing through. So you could just write y equals the square root of 3 times x minus 3. What is the slope when t is negative square root of 3? T is negative square root of 3. Okay, so the slope would be 3 times negative square root of 3 squared minus 3 over 2 times negative square root of 3. That's still going to be 6 on top, negative 2 times square root of 3 on the bottom. So what's it going to be after I simplify it? Negative square root of 3. So the equation of the tangent line at this point, y minus y1 is m times x minus x1. So y minus 0, this time I'll just write y, is negative square root of 3 times x minus 3.